Indiana Jones, Indiana It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones, Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute, the podcast in which we get to the heart of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom 1 minute at a time. I'm Tom Taylor.
I'm Pete Mummert.
I'm Jerry Porter.
And I'm Jamie, the Archaeologist.
Welcome back, Jamie.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here.
It's great to be here.
It's been too long.
Yeah.
But you're here to help us out with minute 42 of Temple of Doom. And yes. 42 begins with the introduction of Zalim Singh, Maharajah of Pankot, and ends with Indy getting into the history of the palace with Chatterlal and Captain Blumburtt.
So I like that, we talked a little bit about like the people that go to the temple, like that work at the Temple of Doom, or that's where they go to worship. Like, do they know that they're bad guys? Like, if you wake up on Sunday morning and you're like, "Hey, honey, off to the Temple of Doom," is she gonna know? Like,
do they call it the Temple of Doom? Is that its name?
I think it's First Temple of Doom of Northern Pankot.
Yeah, but like Doom is the name of a flower or something, so they don't know that it's weird.
Yeah. In Urdu, it's fine.
Yeah. But what is not fine in Urdu is that the Maharaja's name is Zalim Singh. Zalim is the Urdu word for oppressor or tyrant. So he's definitely making a statement.
Spoiled brat.
Wait, is there like a term for when people's names in fiction just like describe what they are in a way that they couldn't have when their parents named them? Like I'm thinking about like in Harry Potter, there's Remus Lupin who becomes a werewolf long after he's born, but his name is like Wolf.
Yeah.
Like weren't his parents like, maybe this is a mistake?
They just meant it as a joke, but then...
Yeah, exactly. Now you have a lifelong crippling medical condition. That's too bad.
It's just overly hirsute.
But I feel like there should be a term for that in fiction.
I want someone to write in and say, oh yes, of course there's a term for it.
Yeah,
and this
exactly.
But I want to know here, it's like, who's going to take a job, even as maybe a professional entertainer at the Temple of Doom or Pankot Palace, especially at Pankot Palace, when you're like, oh, that's lovely. Okay, wonderful. We're looking for some musicians. You'll have an interview with Oppressor Singh on Tuesday. Like, you're just not going to take that job.
Depends on how good of a professional you are.
Right.
Yeah, it's about the music,
or how much
Jerry.
You need the money,
Yeah, it's about the music. Well, I had a question here. Most of the dinner guests are wearing red, gold, or like an off-white. However, there's one guest who's clearly bedecked all in emerald green. Care to take over from here, Pete?
I thought this guy, he's definitely in disguise, or she.
I was totally kidding.
No, I actually, she's in my notes actually, and I think it's a she because she's obviously wearing a fake beard and fake mustache, and her stature compared to these giant, fun-making men lead me to believe that she's either a woman or a child, and so I think she's there for some secret reason we haven't determined yet.
Well, this is like a podcast conspiracy Mad Lib.
True.
Well, so you had that in there. All right.
I had that. But to take it a step further, did you guys notice that when the Maharaja steps out of the door looks like the lips from the Rolling Stones album?
That's
and when he steps out, like he looks like the tongue, like he's all dressed in red, and so he's the tongue coming out of the mouth.
Oh my God!
Then I was wondering, is this a reference to Willie coming out of the dragon's mouth? And are they kind of saying that, like Willie, he's ultimately kind of a figurehead to a shadowy gangster who really holds the power in the place?
Yes. That's exactly what's happening.
I like that.
I do like that.
Not to, hurt the family podcast, but there's another way to interpret that. as it
Go
not
on.
being a particular kind of facial mouth, but people emerging from holes which have that shape. Just saying.
This is one of them
There might be
Yannick
some
minutes.
Yannick symbolism. Exactly.
You're going all Yannick on us.
Yeah. Yannick symbolism is a very big thing, you know.
Yeah, and Shiva stones always sit on a Yannick design,
Oh my God.
so this all fits
Uh-oh.
together.
Oh God, I can hear Christy typing right now.
Yeah.
Furiously.
Let us know when her text comes in.
Her little ears are twitching. It makes her sound like she's a rabbit.
I know.
I'm sure
I love
her ears
that
are fine.
she has
but-
little ears.
It's not far from the truth.
Yeah, I'm not debating it.
She is part cartoon rabbit.
Aw.
So why are Willie and Short Round sitting so far away from Indy? Like, is that his choice? Is this part of the Dirty Rotten Scoundrels thing where he's like trying to play like he's taken over and he's going to make them sit far away, or do you think the Maharaja asked them to sit far away?
I assume
That's a
there's a
good
seating plan.
Yeah.
And that Chatterlaw wanted to sit near Indy because he wanted to find out what he's up to and wanted his undivided attention.
Maybe there's some kind of a gender role thing going on, and they assume that she's like either the mother or the nanny of this kid, and so she has to be with him, like be
Really
sitting next to
dressed
him.
up.
Yeah, it is interesting, actually. I'm thinking right now from the Maharaja's point of view, it's like these Yannick doors open, and you come out, I guess, for dinner, and you have no idea who's going to be in front of you.
No, that's why the
Yeah.
guy was looking
Yeah.
out the curtain. He's like, oh, there's a kind of weird looking lady.
Yeah.
There's a kid kind of looks like he needs to hit the laundry.
The Emerald
Yeah.
Spy is back again.
Yeah. There's good old Chubsy Ubsy.
Yeah. It's going to eat us out of bugs.
It's out of bugs. By the way, does anybody, Tom, do you know where Chubsy Ubsy's from?
I only know that he's from your mind. That's all I have to know.
It was the little rascals. It was the little rascals. He jumps in the swimming hole, and like all the water it comes out of the entire swimming hole, and they're just sitting in like a dry crevice of mud, like a crater.
I want that to be the first time that joke was ever done on the Little Rascals.
Anyway,
Oh my god!
But do you think the Maharaja's sitting back there behind the curtain? He's like, oh God, is George out there? Is he out there? 'Cause
Yeah.
all he does is like belch and talk about the snake. And
Yeah.
I think so. I think he might be, because I don't know, what is he, 12? Or, I mean, if he's supposed to be Short Round's age, he's like 3.
7. Yeah.
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 He's 7, which I don't think he's 7. I think that's ridiculous. But,
Wait,
I don't
Short
know.
Round or the kid?
Well, both.
Yeah.
Well, neither, I should say. Neither one of them's 7. That's ridiculous.
They're both a couple of little rascals. That's the important thing.
Yeah.
And speaking of little rascals, I actually like Short. I like their little moment of she's like, oh, the Maharaja's that kid, and he says maybe he likes older women, and she looks at him like actually like weirded out and disgusted, which is funny. That's like actually funny. That's an actually funny moment
Yeah,
between two characters who a lot of people have a problem with. So I'm glad to, but it's also funny that her look could also double as, ew, do you think the guys making this movie would actually like put in a thing where like an adult has a totally inappropriate affair with a much younger person? You're gross, Short Round. Stop it.
That's so last movie.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
35.
Oh my God, that's totally her facial expression.
Yeah. What if I
Her
signed
facial
up
expression at second 34 is just incredible. She's just
Yeah.
like so disgusted.
Well, what does the Maharaja's yawn mean? Like, does it mean that he doesn't like older women? Like, is he yawning at Willie? Like, you can put on all the golds you want. First of all, it's my gold.
Right.
He took it out of my walk-in closet.
Yeah, enjoy.
Like, does he hear Short Round say that?
No, I think he's purely
No.
the bully. Like he sees Short Round waving, and
Yeah.
like unfortunately this poor kid's had a rough go already, and now that like the Maharaja's kicking the sand in his face.
Yeah,
See,
exactly.
I have a theory here on this. I think the Maharaja is a fake vampire bat. And
What?
just
James, what?
Just humor him.
just humor him. It's gonna be all cut out.
I want to see where this goes.
And just like all the other fake vampire bats in this movie, his circadian rhythms are off, and he's actually tired. It's like it's now getting dark outside, and normally the time when the bats get, they wake up. But because
Time to
he's,
eat some bugs.
yeah, and yes, that's right. He's gonna eat some bugs right before night. He's a fake vampire bat, and he can't tell you like his nocturnal diurnal clock is off, and he's actually really tired, and he's about to go to sleep.
Cut him some slack, Jack.
Yeah.
Well, he might be sleepy from being up in the mines all night.
The what? What are you talking about, huh?
Sorry. That's where bats live. Bats live in mines.
Exactly.
And other
I'm not
Okay, yeah.
nuts.
Yeah.
I'm not. Look, the bats are all up during the day. They all know.
Exactly.
Everybody knows. Chatterlall knows that Indy and Willie and Shorty are coming. I mean, the bats definitely have something to do with it. And there's all sorts of Dracula type stuff here. He is an oppressor, right? He's an oppressor,
Yeah.
kind of like
Yeah.
Vlad the Impaler, right?
Yeah.
Okay. See, I think I'm done here.
Rock
He's a
solid.
vampire. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a fake vampire bat.
So maybe the guy, the lady in green, is the Van Helsing of India.
Oh, yeah. That's it.
Huh.
Listen, Pete. We'll make a secret. If you accept mine, I'll accept yours.
I'm so lonely. I'm the only one who makes sense on this show.
Well, to segue there, I feel like Indy is about to do a similar conversational tactic to what you did, which is he's about to kind of drop a bomb on Chatterlall there.
Yeah.
Right.
Chatterlall clearly doesn't want to talk about the mutiny or the history of the palace. He says, it seems the British never forget the mutiny, which is completely understandable. And then Indy clearly wants to continue pursuing this conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's a dog with a bone.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, I don't know. I know nothing about the history that they're talking about. I don't know what the mutiny was that they're talking about.
Well, I'm certainly not an expert, but from 1857 to 1859, there was something called the Indian Mutiny or the Indian Rebellion, that kind of thing. And at the time, India was being run as essentially like a satellite of the British Empire through the British East India Company, who were not like a company anymore. They were now like a military force in India. And there were all sorts of contributing factors, and basically the Indians were just not happy with their colonial rulers, and there was a huge uprising. So,
Wow.
and there were a lot of atrocities on either side, including a lot of British women and children were killed who were living in India, like the families of the East India Company, and which is probably why they haven't forgotten it. And there were also a lot of atrocities, like the city of Delhi was under siege, and when someone was describing it after the British had gone through there, they said the streets were red with blood and all of the men were killed in the town and things like that.
So I think that's interesting because the Sepoy Mutiny was sort of what caused the British government to come in and really take over the whole country. It's what caused it to go from the East India Company running it to the actual government.
Yeah.
And so Indy, bringing this up over and over is really, like you said, just turning the knife again and again in Chatterlall. He's just
I
saying,
really don't understand what
remember
he's doing.
Yeah, remember when you lost all your independence? You remember?
It's really, really strange, and not only kind of awkward American, Shorty, where's my razor bellowing.
Can I offer a theory on this?
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Well, I have one theory about it, which isn't it's not a theory about the movie, it's a theory about Indy as a character, which is that a thing that academics do, in my experience, and which I am certainly guilty of, is when I meet somebody, I find out what they're interested in, and then whatever little bit of information I have about that topic, I will try to make myself sound smarter by saying, oh, I recently read this controversial thing about your topic, and then I pose a question to them, and then they think I know something about it, hopefully, and then I just and then I gain more information. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
Oh, I read something about that theory recently. That was cool. Like, how exactly does that work?
Like,
That's
for
amazing.
example,
I've been doing that this entire podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
found
everybody
out.
does it, but I think academics are particularly guilty of it.
That's funny.
So, yeah.
Well, he's not acting very guest-like.
No,
No,
he's
not at
really
all.
not.
Yeah.
But he's acting very professorial.
And he is acting very Scooby-Doo-ish.
A little, yeah, but you know, it's weird. Like, he doesn't even, like, the villagers said, oh, there's like an evil Maharaja of Pankot, and he's, I should be saying Pankot. How do they say it? Pankot?
Unquote.
Pankot. But he, I don't know, like, Chatterlal's been cool so far. Like, Indy's like going whole hog into the idea that Chatterlal is obviously evil and took a rock and must be stopped. Like, he could be using a little lighter touch, I think.
Well, what's interesting is he clearly is on the side of the village, like, without question. And I mean that, like, you know, he has this information from the village. He's like, I'm going to go to Pankot. Sorry. Pankot.
It's not easy.
It's not, especially if you're from the Midwest. You're all Pancat.
Pankot.
Yeah. And, you know, he's not, I mean, he's, I guess, sort of attacking them before he's even sort of figuring out what's going on, what the lay of the land is here. Like, okay, who, what, where, who knows about this? Like, first of all, are the kids here? Is the stone here? Are
Right.
those just, yeah, was that just a crazy village I happened to come across, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So do you think they were going to serve, like, they were just going to have, like, pizza or something, and as soon as he starts being a jerk, they're like, you know what? Bring up the snake.
Do you think people know about it, like in a James Bond, like shaken, not stirred martini? Do you think they know that Indiana Jones is afraid of snakes?
Oh, yeah, I probably heard it at
Chatterlal
Oxford.
picked that up
yeah.
at Oxford.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He picked it up at Oxford.
Well, I am glad that somebody's here who knows something about the history, because I knew nothing about it, and hearing Indy say, yeah, back in the time of Clive, and I'm like,
Right.
I'm like, when you don't know what all these references are, it all sounds like Tobin's spirit guide from Ghostbusters. Like, it just sounds like they're making these completely random references to stuff. Like, oh yeah, like in the third stage of the last of the McKendrick supplicants.
Wait, what? I want to know,
Clive
what
was
was the time of Clive?
He was a bad dude, though. Like, Indy's still turning that knife even harder, because Clive
Yeah.
was the commander-in-chief of the British East India Company, and he,
Boom.
like, even in Britain, they thought he was a bad guy, because he was trying, like, he came back and they said he enriched himself, but they said he led to this famine in Bengal that, like, reduced the population by 1/3, just because he was trying
Wow.
to take so much out of the country.
Yeah.
Whoa. And he mentions it so casually. He's like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the time of Hitler, when the
Yeah,
the
that's
Holocaust
exactly
thing
what it-
happened. Yeah.
And I should point out that Clive, that's like in the 1760s, 1770s. And then the mutiny is in 1857. So there's a long time period between there of East India
But
Company.
he's sort of like, he's mentioning, I think, that time period, because he's sort of getting into like the thuggy stuff. Like, we don't get that in this minute, but that's kind of where he's going, isn't it?
He's probably doing that because they were wiped out before the mutiny.
Right. But, yeah, I feel like they really came to the British consciousness in the 1830s. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but
No, I think
I
you're
feel
right.
like
actually, yeah.
India's just doing the thing where he's just spraying little facts that he knows, and he's not
Right.
He's just hoping something
All of them
lands.
highly offensive. Yeah.
Well, just for the hell of it, can somebody explain to me, and maybe other people who are less familiar, who's Clive? Like, Clive who? Clive Johnson? Like Lord Clive?
Robert.
Major General Robert Clive, who then went on to be Lord Clive.
Oh, okay. So I did hit that. Okay,
exactly.
Lord Clive. Well,
Lord
when it comes to
Clive.
the British, he only got like one or two prefixes.
Right. But he was a British army officer who basically secured Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan for the East India Company, and so then later for the British
wow.
Crown. And yeah, he was not a great guy. And even at the time that he was alive, everything that he was doing was pretty controversial. Although they certainly didn't say no to lots of money. So
That's got to say something, though, that like in the 1700s, like 1760s, if Britain is like, you know what, you're being a little bit too colonial, like you're being a little bit too tough on the native people here.
Well, in Britain there was a pretty strong movement. I don't know how strong it was, but there was definitely a group of people who had influence that were very like taking the religious mission of Christianity seriously, and like they wanted to abolish slavery and ultimately did abolish slavery a long time before the US did. And so that same group of people was also advocating a lot for the rights of people in these colonial areas. So that it wasn't like everyone was really into it.
Well, Jamie, what do you think? We've been talking about this last week. What do you think the directors are doing here by putting this sort of colonial Britain-Indian tension thing going on here? Like, is it a subplot? How does it serve the movie?
Well, this one's not really as grounded in like real history with big quote marks around it as Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I feel like this is the scene in the movie where they try to fit it into a historical moment.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the other things that happen in it feel pretty timeless. I guess not, the scene in Shanghai is not that timeless, but in general, the things that happen feel like they could have happened in a really wide range of time. And this scene really, like, it says, like, there's colonial tensions. You know, the people here aren't that happy with British rule, but it's after the mutiny. And then we have this American coming in who is acting like a typical American and just sticking his foot in it.
Yeah.
So.
And I wondered, you're like, well, what are they going to do with Blumburtt? Like, how is this going to play out? You know, is he a good guy? Like, if Chatterlaw's a bad guy, like, is Blumburtt a good guy?
Some stuff happens at the end that suggests he might be a good guy. But it very much is a suggestion. I feel like
from a certain
maybe there
point
was
of
a
view.
cut scene or something involving him.
Yeah.
That's for way later on, so I won't get into it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, does anybody have anything else for this minute?
Yes. This just in
perfect.
Professor Christy Porter.
Ooh.
Yeah, her little cute ears.
I say that because I like Christy very much, by the way. Even though I don't know her in real life, I really enjoy her minute.
She looks like a cute-eared princess. Worst fake yawn ever.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Yeah.
He looks like he's about to put his arm around someone in the movie theater.
Oh my God! Welcome to 1958, Pete.
That's why Willie's face is so disgusted. She just saw his moves and she's like, "Oh, I can't do it."
That's hilarious. My God, that's really funny.
Well, on that note, Jamie, we hope you can come back tomorrow. Can you come back tomorrow and talk more about Clive and British atrocities?
I can.
All right, awesome. And in the meantime,
I can talk about British colonial atrocities all day.
Oh, excellent. That's what we like to hear. Jer, where can people get in touch with us if they want to?
Well, in the interest of brevity, I'm going to say this very quickly so it doesn't bog down the ending of the episode. If you have if you have a question or a comment, we may very well put it on the show. Please call us at 724-LOST-ARK. That is the Indiana Jones Minute Hotline.
I can only assume that's true because I always forget the number. 724 Lost Ark. Beautiful.
I like it.
Me too. I'm going to try that someday. But everybody else, please come back tomorrow and join us for minute 43 of Temple of Doom here on the Indiana Jones Minute.
Clive!
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 It seems the British never forget the mutiny.
There's nothing nice to say for Blumburtt.